obviously you've been in leadership for quite some time. So from your perspective or from your point of view, what can you do as a leader to retain and attract top talent? Let's keep this in the space of development itself.
So there's a lot of things that are available now that weren't available to me, let's say, 10 years. Simple things like the usage of LinkedIn as a networking tool. I mean, I used to kind of try to have an event where my team will present a certain project that we've just launched, for example, just to be able to kind of spread the word out there to connect these chapters to them. But now LinkedIn has made this all easily accessible, where you can easily, as a tech leader, kind of share, within what you can share in terms of what your achievements, what your team's achievements are, what the company's achieved, powered by technology, and throw in there a little bit about the tech stack. Give kudos to your team members. Kind of tag along the certain hashtags that are important to kind of catch the right audience for it. To me, this is very underutilized because I don't see many. I see some, to be fair, I see some tech leaders that are doing that. But it could be done a little bit more to the point where you actually are giving a window to your organization through LinkedIn or through a social platform, through Twitter, through whatever it is itself, so that these prospective technologists that want to, or software developers that want to join your team will see, okay, well, this is the kind of leader that's in charge of this. Okay, good news or bad news depends on the perspective. This is the tech stack, the world, and wow, this is the kind of stuff that they're getting done and they're getting recognized for. So these are, again, they tie back to what I was saying earlier, that they're small wins and it's more accessible now than ever. It needs to be leveraged. So that's your additional one. Obviously, you're going to get a lot of LinkedIn requests and people want to connect with you. Try to engage with the audiences as well in terms of technology choices. If there's a certain trend that you want to vet out, it shows that you're keeping on top of things. So you'll get this kind of conversation started, and it filters down through your positions that you're interviewing for. That's their second opportunity for a deeper window into what does it look like. Now they're meeting you in person, they're meeting the hiring manager in person. You've got to be able to not take the interview lightly, not just like it's another meeting, but actually just go through the CV that you've got, kind of bounce some ideas with the hiring manager that's going to be with you in the interview, and try to deeply understand what this candidate is all about and give them the information that they need. I found a lot of, it's funny because we were talking about this earlier, but there's a lot of interviews where the interviewer themselves will be talking the whole time, and it's great, but but let's reserve that until the end. Well, after we get a better understanding of this candidate, of the opportunity to explain themselves and throw at them some situational questions, try to get them beyond the sort of theoretical answer into the practical answers, and then open the door to them to ask whatever question they want, that talk about the organization and the team. So that's the other part, which is this experience to get them through the door. Now, whether they make it or not, whether they pass the interview or not, it's important that they leave with a good impression. How they were treated in the interview, and what sort of tech knowledge they came out of it with, because that sort of is the reputational part of this culture that we want to build. Now, once they get into the culture itself, the inside of the culture, if they're the successful candidates, then everything else that I mentioned earlier in terms of building right culture and engagement level applies.
There's one thing that's very interesting, at least from a recruiter's perspective, right? Because when obviously candidates get interviewed, they've been told what role they're interviewing for most times, and the interviews typically just sort of the questions are all around the role or what they've done in the past. From my perspective, candidates like it when they've been told a story of an organization, and I see this especially with startups for obvious reasons. They've been essentially given a long story of how the organization or the startup has come to where it has been, and there's two sides to this, because one, the candidate feels a lot more in tune with what's happening, and storytelling is a great way to gauge how well the leader is or the interviewer is as well. Because if he or she is passionate about the organization, about the journey and everything, I mean, naturally it just gives a positive impression to the candidate as well. And
Absolutely.
it's a very good environment for everyone. And I've seen this work as well, especially with like startups. It just happens.
Absolutely. I mean, it doesn't have to be, and that's a very good point. It doesn't have to be just startups, Ruwise. It's if you're kind of leading a tech function, an enterprise sort of tech at a massive company or whatever size company it is, good leadership is about finding the motivation or the excitement about this job and portraying it to others, right? So let's say we're working on, I remember my experience, for example, earlier on when I was meeting for certain jobs in Canada, and you hear sort of the passion of how you could take something like a problem domain and say, okay, listen, it is a narrowed problem domain, but we're doing so much cool stuff in this problem domain, and it has so much more potential once we get to these stages. So you're kind of living this kind of startup excitement, but within a bigger company that's established, and it's not a startup. You know what I mean?